Hi there, good evening everyone. I want to welcome you all here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. This is a show that is dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So it's an episode of What's New. Yes, we've moved it back to Saturday night. I originally moved it off Saturday night because I had a conflict, but the conflict is ended. I don't have it anymore, and this seems like the better night to do it. During the week, this kind of thing is tough just because I don't get home till late. I still got to eat and all that stuff. So I moved it back to Saturday night. I think it'll be good. So the album we're doing tonight for What's New is Lars Fredrick Froislie, and the album is Gamle Mester or Mester. So this album was released on May the 9th, 2025. It's about 47 minutes or so in length on the Charisma record label and produced by Lars Fredrick Froislie himself. So we have appearing on the album is Lars Fredrick Froislie, of course, on drums, vocals, Hammond organ, mellotron, mini moog, clavinet, arp, pro, and recorder. Nikolai, I think I'm going to get this wrong, but we're going to try it anyways, Hagsley on bass, and then Kettle Enarsson, one or the other. Flute and recorder as well. So we got three guys playing almost everything on here. Of course, this album is dominated by Lars Fredrick. He plays everything and does the vocals pretty much, except for, of course, the bass and the flute. This album has 6 tracks on it. You've got, you've got 4 lengthy ones, and then 2 kind of less, more like a shorts, you might call them. One's like 3 minutes, the other is like 5 minutes, and everything else is over 7 minutes on the album. So for those of you who do not know who Lars Fredrick Froislie is, he is the keyboardist primarily known for his work with Wobbler, but also with the Chronicles of Father Robin, and he's appeared with other Norwegian musical rock stars as well, performing with them. But this is his second solo album, and I think this one is pretty good. It's a pretty solid album. He does do his own vocals. Maybe that's not such a bright idea. I'm not sure. The problem with his vocals is they're kind of in the background. They're not forward. I sense that he's feeding some of it through the synthesizer, so you're getting more of a synthesizer-driven, more mainstream sound than you would get maybe if he just sang them clear. And the album itself, very keyboard driven, of course, multiple different types of keyboard on this album. Everything that he lists that he's playing, I believe he plays. There is a couple of spots in the album where it sounds like a harpsichord, or could it be an acoustic guitar feed through the synthesizer. That's more likely what it is, through the ARP synthesizers. So there's a little bit of that. The bass is very forward on this album, very dominant. I'm much surprised. I didn't expect the bass to be as dominant an instrument here. Thought mostly these two guys were going to be kind of filler at the back, but not so. The drums are pretty heavy too. So the entire rhythm section on this album is pretty strong. That would be my first thing to tell you. Lots of different keyboard solos, lots of different keyboard sounds. Very atmospheric, very progressive in nature, this whole album. Very, very catchy riffs, very catchy, upbeat, up-tempo stuff throughout the entire album. I liked it quite a bit. I wouldn't say I actually expected this to sound almost Wobbler-like, but I don't think it does. And it doesn't really sound like the Chronicles of Father Robin either. That one is more of a yesy sound to it, I guess, maybe might be, and some of the Wobbler stuff is quite yesy as well. This one, kind of a little bit different. It's a little bit heavier in nature for the most part, I found it. But anyways, pretty good. It's a pretty solid album in my opinion. So we're going to go to pen here. I just want to mark something down here that I didn't do. I don't know why I missed this, but I did. And there are 2 tracks on the back side too, and I did the same thing there. Okay, so we have 6 tracks. I'm going to break them down just a little bit. I'm not going to go overly detailed here. Just tell you what's being played, how I think it sounds, and what I like and dislike about it, really. So the opening track, and all of the tracks here are in Norwegian. Everything is in his native tongue, which makes sense since that's his native language, and he's singing, which is something he doesn't normally do a lot of, so he wanted to do it in the language you're familiar in, so it makes perfect sense to me. So the first track is called Demmering, sorry. A little bit of Hammond organ here, lots of heavy bass to open this album up. It's got a catchy beat. And this is, of course, a keyboard-dominated track, as are most of the tracks. It's got a kind of a worldly sound, or almost a symphonic sound to this particular track at points, but not the whole track, just some points. There is some flute, and that gives this almost a mystical or mythical sound to the track. And it ends with a nice piano-dominated lower key, lower register track. So I like this track. It was pretty good. It's a nice opening. The next track, which is going to be difficult to pronounce, but I'll give it my best shot. This is Jakten da dit Kalle Donsk Vilsun. I don't know. I probably bastardized that pretty bad, but I guess my Norwegian isn't that great. It's got a nice heavy opening. It's very catchy up-tempo beat to it. The vocals, of course, are in Norwegian. Kind of a mid-range, not too dominant, kind of back in the mix, I find. Very heavy drum, bass, rhythm section. So the rhythm section very forward here. There's intermittent heavy parts and low and slower parts. So he's kind of going along in one space, and then have a small intermittent part followed by another heavy spot. I would say the vocals are kind of synthesizer sounding. It's a good way to put it, I guess. Very back, not so forward in the mix, and you're going to find that's pretty much the case with most of the tracks on here. This was one of my more favorite tracks on the album. Very lengthy. It was 10 minutes in length, or a little bit more than 10 minutes in length. Now we have the title track, Gamle Mester, or Gamle Mester, however you want to say it. It's got a nice heavy opening, lots of synthesizers, lots of keyboards, some heavy kind of, and a heavy rhythm section to go with that, pretty strong. There's a few mellotron parts here, but not dominating. It's got a catchy up-tempo beat, again dominated by multi-keyboard instruments. I like the organ part. It's kind of low in the registry. I found the solo here that he does very emotional and very dominant at the same time. It's very forward, feels very emotional. It's a good solid solo. He's got this nice kind of catchy beat section. It's very progressive sounding. The whole album is pretty dominated by progressive sounding. This is one of the weaker tracks, though, even though it is the title. Kind of interesting that he put it third in the list. Maybe the only reason he chose it is because it's a more known commodity than some of the other stuff. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. The next song up is called Medusa's Flak, or Flake. I think it's probably pronounced Flake. Heavy opening, drum bass dominated. Catchy up-tempo keyboard part to accompany this bass and rhythm section. It's kind of a synth-like keyboard part, and it sounds kind of like a guitar, but you can tell it's not really a guitar. If it was, it would be an acoustic guitar, be a little bit more acoustic sounding, but it has that acoustic flavor to it, but with a kind of a synthesizer on top of it. So I'm not sure if that's the ARP that they're using there or not, but it sounds very guitar-like. The vocals, again, low key in the register and not particularly forward in the mix. I think the keyboards kind of are pushing the envelope here. Very dominant, very strong. Then you've got this intermittent, strong, catchy rhythm section that comes and goes throughout the track. So it's dominant, kind of lays back a bit, and then comes on again and lays back a bit. The solo is very strong, very and grows as it goes along. It takes up a fair chunk of the back half of the song, and it's an organ solo. Okay, so that's Medusa's Flak or Flate. I think it's Medusa's Flate is how you would say it. Now we got the back two tracks, one very lengthy, and so you got the longest and the shortest track are the last two. Detre Gretchen, I think that's how I'm gonna say it. That's how it looks. This is the longest track on the album, like 12 and a half minutes in length. It starts out with this kind of acoustic guitar sound, again, probably ARP driven, that synthesizer part. The song does get heavier as it goes along, very bass riff part, that very strong at points. You've got some nice keyboard dominated parts on this particular track too. The vocals are a little bit more forward in the mix and not as cloudy sounding. Sound a little more clear, like he's not feeding it through the synthesizer nearly as much. Maybe he's making an attempt here to just do his own vocal part. The organ and the mellotron solos sound absolutely great together. He's doing them side by side. They sound fantastic. And there's a little bit of a acoustic sound here. It kind of has a bit of a harpsichord flavor, but I don't think it's a harpsichord. This sounds more like it could be a string instrument of some sort, maybe an acoustic guitar or piccolo or something like that here going on. This song, it starts out very quiet and more pastoral in nature, and as it goes along, the song gets heavier and grows heavier and stronger and more up tempo, and the guitar part and the keyboard and the bass part all become a lot more forward in the mix. So a decent song, very, very good song. I did like this one. And then they end with a song which is kind of a strange name. It's called Scum-Ring. It's spelled S-K-U-M, not S-C-U-M. So obviously it's a Norwegian word, but it just has a funny sound to it. It's got a low keyboard piano part to open, and the keyboards kind of start to accompany it. So you got this piano part that's kind of keyboardish with a more of a keyboard part to accompany it at the same time. It's a low key, more pastoral sounding track. It builds and becomes louder. The keyboards become more flamboyant, but there is no drums, no bass, no heavy rhythm section on this, so it's just a instrumental part, and of course no vocals. And towards the end, the song just kind of naturally fades out. Overall, not my favorite track on the album. So it opens with one of the weaker tracks and ends with one of the weaker tracks. But overall, the album is quite strong. The middle part, very dominant. I liked it quite a bit. Very progressive. I wish the vocals were... I wish, first of all, there was more vocals and that he would just sing without adding that kind of distorted part to, or the synthesizer part to the vocals. It sounds almost forced or fed or overshadowed or whatever you want to call it. But overall, it's a good album. I think I would like to have it. So I may try to get this and his first one at the same time. But I'm not going to order anything online at the moment just because the postal service is still out here, and that just means it'll get lost. So best to wait until that is settled, and who knows how long that'll be. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of What's New. Please hit the like and subscribe. If you want to make any comments about Lars Fredrick Froislie, sorry, you can do that in the comment section, or about the album Gamle Mester, or if you want to talk about the Norwegian scene or anything, you can do that in the comment section below. I look forward to seeing you all next week for another episode of What's New. Take care, have yourself a good evening, and goodbye.